This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, Lord, let it shine, let it shine.
You're listening to Manifesting with Morgan and Madeline. Welcome to the final episode of Season 2 of Manifesting with Morgan and Madeline. I apologize for this episode taking so long. It's been like 6 months since we dropped the last one. Unfortunately, life has just kind of gotten in the way for both Madeline and I. And so just keep her in your thoughts and prayers. Madeline's got a lot going on right now, and I appreciate those of you who are continuing to listen, even though we've had a big break. I did want to announce that we will be discontinuing Manifesting with Morgan and Madeline for the foreseeable future. However, I will be hosting a new podcast titled ISO by Morgan Manifests. So ISO stands for In Search Of, and this podcast is going to be very similar to this one, except that I'm really honing in on basically looking for more concrete ways for people who are in search of leveling up and answering life's questions and bettering themselves, and of course manifesting. So keep an eye out. I'll be sharing more about this podcast here soon. I'll put a link to it in the show notes as well. But once again, the new podcast I'll be releasing soon is called ISO by Morgan Manifests, and I will also be supported by Mary Allison Mitchell York, who I did the last episode of Manifesting with Morgan and Madeline with. She and I both love podcasting, and I think that we will collaborate well since I don't have Madeline anymore to partner with. So stay tuned. I also wanted to announce that I will be launching a 4-week workshop very soon. It is going to be called the Alignment Accelerator. So Mary Allison and I hosted the same workshop a few weeks ago, and we did a live in-person event, and we covered everything about identifying your core values and then finding ways to leverage your core values to build a more purposeful and meaningful life. And it was a great success. So I will be rolling the same program out, but instead we're going to break it down into 4 weeks. So we'll have a weekly group call and an online course that you'll get access to a new lesson and alignment assignment each week. And we will go through this together as a group. And hopefully by the end, you will be able to know your core values, and then find ways to leverage your core values to build a more meaningful and purposeful life, and then set more sustainable goals and use your core values as a filter through which you can make more effective and efficient decisions, as well as a number of other things that you can do once you know what your core values are to build a more meaningful life and also manifest more. So stay tuned for that as well. I know if you're into Manifesting with Morgan and Madeline podcast, this workshop will be perfect for you. So I am going to do a solo episode today. I did not want to just make our last episode, even though I'm by myself, about just the announcements and the ending of season 2. I actually wanted to talk about something that has really been resonating with me in this last season. So oh my gosh, October of 2022, shit hit the fan for me, and I got a new opportunity to level up and learn some new things that I can share with the world and help apply to manifesting and whatnot. So today I'd like to talk a little bit about energetic awareness. This has been one of the most important manifesting lessons I've learned over this really hard past 6 months, and it is the importance of developing an energetic awareness. We all know life is going to happen no matter what, and you can prepare and strive to mitigate risk, but sometimes shit's just gonna hit the fan and stuff's gonna happen that's beyond your control. You know, people die unexpectedly, major companies fail, spouses cheat, natural disasters occur. Like, life just happens sometimes. And so step one in personal development and manifesting is to start to begin to get in that acceptance to change mindset. And then you begin to work to develop an acceptance of your current life situation and your current circumstances. And also learn to accept that you cannot control everything that happens in your life. And it does take time and work, but I truly believe like acceptance is the gateway to peace. So the reason I'm talking about this is because I know Madeline and I covered a lot about acceptance in season 1 and 2, and it's a really important foundation for which you can start to build your higher level personal development, psychology, manifesting tools. But anyway, last year I got hit with a lot of shit all at once. Like, I had this week that I will probably never forget, or maybe I'll repress it and never remember it, who knows. But anyway, had I not focused on getting into a place of acceptance instead of resistance to all of the shit that was hitting the fan at the same time, like, I would have totally collapsed. I would have drowned in grief and frustration. I had a few beloved queens in my life pass away unexpectedly. I found out my grandmother has dementia. I got hit with at least $40,000 in unforeseen expenses my first year of being self-employed. Like, freaking nuts. I was betrayed by some family members. I was abruptly distanced from Madeline, my partner in crime, my soul sister, podcast co-host, and watching her face her challenges. And it was just a really rough time. And I realized what got me through it was partly getting into this acceptance place, but also becoming hyper aware of my energetic cup. I'm not sharing what happened to me last year to get sympathy. I'm sharing this to stress the importance of acceptance. So one thing that really helped me when I was just totally steamrolled by grief and uncertainty and loss is I started listening to Eckhart Tolle's teachings, and he really stresses the importance of being present in order to access true peace. And he says, you must accept each present moment as if you picked that moment for yourself. So while I am in this place of grief, I'm thinking about this concept, which is, in this moment, I'm okay. I've got a roof over my head. I still have money in the bank, even though it's gotten substantially drained. I have dogs. I have decent health. This present moment, everything's okay. And then once I started to study and think about accepting each moment as if I had picked it, then I was able to tune out, even if it was for a moment, the sorrow and the loss and the grief. And slowly but surely, those moments of presence kind of carried me through. I realized when I at least try to accept each moment as if I chose it, I could begin to make space for miracles because I'm not fixated on the problems anymore. And I was able to open myself to find some silver linings in these hard times. And I made it a lot easier to attract solutions. I was notified that one of my tenants was moving out abruptly. Another tenant was going through an eviction process, and just a lot of like unforeseen circumstances came up and that were going to cost me a whole lot of money. And once I was able to get into this, at least acceptance, okay, a lot of shit's happening, like it's beyond my control. I trust that everything will eventually work out, even though this is really putting my nervous system into shock. Once I started to do that, then I realized, oh my gosh, there is a blessing in all of this. I am going to be able to switch houses and go move in to the unit that my tenant is moving out of, and it's way more aligned with my taste and my sense of style, and it's in a better neighborhood and all these things. So once I got into that acceptance instead of resistance to my current circumstances, I was able to see things differently and realize, oh, there's actually a blessing in all of this. Once you are able to get into acceptance about whatever's going on in your life, even if it sucks, you can also begin to observe what is impacting you energetically on the inside. So there's things outside of ourselves, our circumstances. Pretty much everything outside of ourselves is beyond our control. However, we can control what's going on the inside. So being able to develop an awareness of your energetics can help you get through these tough times and figuratively be able to ride the waves of life as they're happening instead of struggling to stay afloat or even drowning when shit gets real. So part of staying strong in order to ride the waves of life and navigate it when shit hits the fan is, one, to keep your own energetic cup full, and two, to become acutely aware of the things that drain you energetically. So in order to keep your energetic cup full, you have to be sure to integrate your core values as much as possible in all aspects of your life. Immerse yourself with your passions and interests. Follow your light by doing the things that light you up as much as possible. Surround yourself with people who are supportive and loving. Take care of your body through rest and exercise. Commit to a spiritual practice. Remember, everyone is energized by different things, so you have to do what's best for you. Pay attention to what makes you feel joy, what makes you feel connection and presence and peaceful and purposeful, and immerse yourself in these things. That is how you fill your energetic cup so that when life gets real, you have enough to keep fueling you to get through it. If you are still not clear about what lights you up or how to identify your authentic values, sign up for my Alignment Accelerator Manifesting Masterclass. I will teach you how to identify your core values and leverage them to create a more meaningful and fulfilling life. The Alignment Accelerator is a 4-week group course designed to help you leverage your authentic interests and passions to make more effective decisions, build sustainable goals, and connect with your manifestations. You can find the course at www.morganmanifest.com and use code podcast23, one word, at checkout to get 50% off your order. Once again, you can find this course at www.morganmanifest.com and use code podcast23, which is one word, at checkout to get 50% off your order. Feel free to reach out to me with any questions, but I look forward to collaborating with you and learning and growing and manifesting together. When you make it a priority to keep your energetic cup full during the easier times in life, it will be much easier to keep that momentum when tough stuff happens. When you also prioritize protecting yourself from what drains you energetically, it becomes substantially less difficult to make it through life's challenges. So, once again, a great way to navigate these hard times that we face, all of us, even the most woke, spiritually connected, elevated, evolved people, we all experience hardship. I mean, we all went through COVID together. Once again, I like to reiterate natural disasters. I lived in California and there were wildfires. I lived in New Orleans, there were hurricanes. Shit just happens. And if you are able to, when things are good, keep your cup full with the stuff that lights you up, honoring your values, that kind of thing, but then also be acutely aware of what is draining for you, you've already built some habits to keep that momentum and keep your cup full when life gets real. So I have been guilty of not paying attention to what drains me, and it has bit me in the butt a number of times. I have stayed in soul-sucking jobs. I've kept people in my life that cause me way more harm than good. I've stayed in relationships for years after their expiration date, and I've lent a helping hand countless times to those in need who really never intended to actually get better in the first place. Like, I have drained myself. And a lot of the time I'm thinking I'm doing something good, but really I'm just depleting myself and not replenishing. Once I started to really pay attention to the things that drain me and started practicing like patching those holes, those leaks in my energetic cup, I started to realize like, hey, I actually have a lot more work to do. Like, there are a lot more leaks in this ship than I ever realized. After losing so many people last year, I really did start to think about like, what do I want out of this life? If this is the only life I have, what am I going to do to make the most of it? When you are on your deathbed, what are you going to regret more? Experiencing a bit of discomfort here and there that potentially results from me saying no to the people, places, or things that drain me? Or am I going to regret more living a life that's like shaped around avoiding the potential discomfort of change? What is really worse in the long run? The short-term consequences of potentially pissing someone off by saying no, or the long-term consequences of continuing to say yes to anything that drains me or is not actually aligned with my heart's desires? You have to pay equal attention to both the things that are fulfilling and rewarding to you and the things that drain you and rob you of that energy. And the more you practice, and I emphasize, this is a practice, removing that which does drain you energetically, the easier it will be to get through the hard times, because you've already set that foundation of saying no to this stuff. When you are going through hard stuff, you're already inherently being depleted energetically. So setting this foundation when life is good of keeping your cup full and also saying no to the things that drain you or eliminating the things that drain you, it's going to make it easier. To determine what is draining you energetically, these are some questions that you should consider asking yourself regularly. Are there people in your life that consistently hurt your feelings and make you feel used or take way more than they give? Maybe there are people in your life that make you feel defensive, unworthy, or less than. Are there certain settings, places, or environments you find yourself in that make you feel uncomfortable, unsettled, or anxious? What in your life causes you the most stress? What about your own habits and behaviors? Are there things you continue to do for temporary relief that may actually have long-term consequences, such as spending too much money, continuing to settle for the wrong person romantically? Maybe you use alcohol or drugs or overeating. Like, what are the things that you are doing that might make you feel good in the short term that have long-term negative effects? These are some of the things to start to be mindful of when you are wanting to pay attention and figure out what is draining your cup and what do you need to start eliminating, or at least being a little bit more aware of, in order to keep your cup full to navigate this thing called life. And you're probably not going to be able to get rid of all of the draining stuff overnight, but you can take baby steps by making small commitments to do things differently, little by little. I always advise people, like, we're not going to be able to change our diets, cut out all our bad habits, and change our sleep cycles and add exercise and a spiritual practice and like all these things all at one time. Like, baby steps. Pick one thing that's the most palatable and approachable and get that under control. And then once you've got a little bit of momentum and a new pattern or habit there, then you can do something else. So like, here are some examples where you can start to patch energetic drains. These are some things that I use or that I know could potentially help you just to start somewhere. No TV or scrolling before bed. Don't keep junk food at the house. Quit following anything on social media that makes you feel shitty. Maybe go to bed a little earlier. Block the ex. clean and declutter your house. Just start to pay attention to like what is in my life that actually robs me of my energy instead of adding value. And then maybe you're not ready to act on it yet, but make note of it. Keep a list. And then one day, you know, after enough discomfort, you're going to find the willingness to do things differently. And one of my favorite one-liners to kind of help me on the fly make decisions and determine if something is going to be a good idea and potentially drain me energetically is, if it's not a hell yes, then it's a no. That keeps me from agreeing to do things that maybe I was agreeing to please someone else, but really I don't want to do. It's helped me when I make big life decisions like buying some property or deciding what I'm going to do next for my career path. There's a difference between a hell yes, but also being nervous or scared because it's intimidating and it's going to require a little bit of growth on my behalf versus like maybe yes, kind of yes, because like I'm not sure if I want to do it or not. Like that's a no. That's a no. There's a slight difference, and only you know, and you have to pay attention to yourself and your own internal response to something between something that's like a hell yes plus nerves or plus a little bit of fear, but it's still a hell yes. It's just scary versus a I don't know. We only want to go for the hell yeses. Otherwise, you are inviting potential energetic drain. So I promise you, if you start to pay attention to what fills you up and what drains you and add a little bit more of the rewarding, fulfilling stuff that lights you up and remove a little bit more, little by little, of the stuff that drains you, your quality of life will improve significantly with some time and practice. This will help you navigate when life gets real, which it will, it always has, always does, and it will help you to keep that baseline instead of going all the way down, instead of the ship you're on just completely sinking. Maybe you're going to hit some waves and get rocked around a little bit, but you're not going to capsize. You're not going to drown. That is my goal for you. And when it comes to manifesting, keeping your vibe high, like this is what it's all about. If you want to connect with your desires, which are on this next frequency, you're going to have to tune yourself to that higher frequency. And the only way you can do that is if you pay attention to what gives you energy, what gives you life, what feeds your spirit. The amazing part of that is when you're feeding yourself energetically, you're doing the things that light you up. Not only are you increasing your vibe, but your quality of life is improving because you're doing what you were put here on the earth to do in the first place, which is to tap into your purpose, which is tied to your unique interests and values, and to live a joyful, wonderful life, and to keep growing and evolving and connecting with your core essence and your authentic self. I'm done with my soapbox monologue. I hope that you guys take something from this. I really appreciate everyone who has been along for this journey, season 2 of Manifesting with Morgan and Madeline, even though it has been 6 months since we dropped our last episode. And once again, please keep an eye out for my newest podcast, ISO by Morgan Manifests. And if you feel called, also sign up for the Alignment Accelerator group program. There's a lot more great things to come, and I appreciate everyone's support. I love you all. Happy manifesting.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little